time, it is about Elizabeth Holmes. The 37-year-old founder of Theranos is accused of lying to patients, doctors, and investors about how her company's blood testing worked. Holmes faces a litany of fraud and conspiracy charges. Now, according to court documents, Holmes will be claiming domestic abuse. The newly unsealed documents claim her former boyfriend and business partner, Ramesh Sunny Balwani, psychologically, physically, and sexually abused her during their relationship. Now, the former Theranos CEO and president will face federal trial next year in relation to this case. A jury has officially been selected. 7 men, 5 women. We're told it's a diverse jury of different makeups of people. Holmes faces up to 20 years behind bars. Opening statements are set to begin tomorrow, and her trial is expected to last 13 weeks. All right, so let's bring back our panel in to see what they make of Holmes' claim. Could this grant an acquittal, what she's talking about here? Matthew?
Yeah, it's possible. I'll tell you that. This attacks the core of intent, the element of intent. And showing that she couldn't form the intent to defraud is going to be huge. It's going to help her out in everything. Now, this trial is going to be huge. And I think that if you're going to come up with a defense, it really needs to be rock solid. So that means for this kind of defense, I'm interested to see, is she going to take the stand to really show it to the jury, or how is this going to pan out? Because that's a big mountain to climb. You really got to sell these people that you are really being that abused.
Well, that's what I was kind of curious. So, Nicole, let me ask you, how would you explain this accusations against her business partner fall into her defense of what she's accused of when it comes to the fraud and everything else?
It may be a little bit of a tough sell. I mean, I think what I think so far is that the defense is trying to say that she did the things that she did because she was under this sort of almost duress. And the duress was from this terrible abuse that she was suffering in this relationship. And so therefore, she participated in this fraud knowingly. That's a little bit tangled. And as we've already heard, this is going to be a long trial. And I suspect that the government will present a lot of information about statements that she's made, press conferences that she's given, interviews that she gave, where she answered detailed questions about something that didn't exist. And I think that that's going to be really tough for the defense in this case.
And what about the prosecution? Matthew, let me ask you, how should they come about this? Like, what's their plan of attack here?
Well, if I was the prosecution, I would stay my course. I would not fall for this abuse talk, because what it's going to do is that it's going to move the jury. It's going to move the attention to this whole other thing. I would focus on the overwhelming amount of evidence that you have and the scale that you did it at. Not only that, but you've defrauded some pretty sophisticated people. So you really got to show the jury, hey, even though they're sophisticated, this is still a crime. And so you really, as a prosecutor, you really got to stay your course. It's almost like you got to be honed in. You got to continue to add to it at all costs, not being able to fall off course for anything that comes up.
Again, this is a federal trial that we're talking about, so of course our cameras won't be allowed in there, but us here at Law and Crime will be covering this extensively. Also, another trial that's in federal court that we have been really focused on is R. Kelly's trial, and we're going to have more on that coming up after the break.